Hello and welcome to Flashback, a look at stories from years gone by. Something you may remember from those younger days, skiing in Prince Rupert. Mount Hayes, we may remember those February afternoons on the hills, or those weekday school trips. But it's hard to forget the hardship that hill faced. The mountain just wasn't built for skiing. Here's that story from 1990.
It's just a short trip from downtown Prince Rupert to the Mount Hayes recreation area. From the parking lot at the bottom of the gondola, it's less than 7 minutes to the chalet at the top. The proximity of Mount Hayes is one of its advantages, and on a good day, the view can be spectacular, stretching all the way to Alaska. But there are plenty of dreary days in a place like Prince Rupert too, and the unpredictable weather is one of the hill's worst problems.
It's easy to get people up here on a nice day. You could charge 10 times the price on a nice day, and on a bad day you can't give it away, is what it amounts to. I found that out after all these years.
Richard Roy has managed Mount Hayes for 8 of the 10 years the city has operated it. He's on the hill both in the winter and in the summer when skiers give way to tourists looking for a view of the ocean and coastal mountains. This isn't the first year City Council has questioned the cost of running Mount Hayes, especially the winter ski operation. But the city is trying to keep its budget increase this year to the rate of inflation, and that means curbing costs in many departments. Recreation, including the Civic Center and swimming pool, has one of the largest price tags, and Mount Hayes could be one of the easiest variables to manipulate.
Well, it costs a certain amount of money. You can't compare it with the entire recreation, civic center, or swimming pool operation, but every $100,000 makes a difference, and that's what it costs now, even without putting in the capital expenditures required to make the facilities adequate.
And how do the winter and the summer operations up there compare as far as the costs?
Well, it's hard to differentiate between them, but it seems to me that lately anyway, unless there is a tremendous amount of people skiing, that the cost of operation, the expenses exceed the revenues by considerable amounts. No different than the Civic Center, for that matter, but still there's an additional expense. During the summertime, the purpose, I guess, is to increase the tourism facilities in Prince Rupert, and there is a cost certainly, but perhaps not as great as the skiing itself.
Another factor affecting the cost of running Mount Hayes is the recent unionization of workers on the hill. City Council was already questioning the operation when the employees joined the Canadian Union of Public Employees. The new contract will add to the payroll cost.
Everybody working for the city directly belongs to you, and it does increase the cost considerably, which I guess indirectly is a factor.
While the city crunches numbers, skiers and other users of Mount Hayes aren't sitting idly by. They've formed the Mount Hayes Recreation Society and are hoping their efforts can help the city operate the hill more economically.
Well, we're trying to get in touch with more snowboarders and more cross-country skiers to get them involved in creating their own trails and half pipes for snowboarders. In the summertime, we're in discussion right now with a few different people that have talked about summer camps, day camps for kids up here, and just different walking tours and so on, and upgrading the boardwalks that are here and so on and so forth. The society hopes to raise money to help the city with the operation through bingos, lottery funds if they're available. It's a nonprofit organization, and we hope to just run as many functions as possible to be able to kick in money and help the city to work with them to make sure that it does stay open.
Mount Hayes supporters point to the cost of running the city's other recreation facilities too. They don't want Mount Hayes treated differently.
The other recreational facilities, as well as Mount Hayes, are all paid for with taxpayers' money, as well as a number of other grants and so on. And the ski hill, we've done a study over the last 9 years of how much return it has put in, along with ticket sales and grants and so on and so forth. And we seem to be running at about a 41% rate of return on the money. So we believe also that that's a higher rate than any of the other recreational facilities.
Mount Hayes has 6 main runs for skiing and a T-bar to take skiers to the top of them. The mountain also has a rental shop, lounge, restaurant, and cafeteria in the chalet. The nearest competition for skiing now is about 4 hours away at Ski Smithers. But next winter, the Shames Mountain Ski Corporation is planning to open its hill west of Terrace. It will be just an hour-and-a-half drive from Prince Rupert. And there's no doubt many skiers from the city will flock to Shames Mountain. But supporters of Mount Hayes say that shouldn't damage the viability of their own mountain. They say there is a niche only Mount Hayes can fill.
And this is more of a smaller recreational area where Shames is being developed as a major ski resort. We're just more of a starting point for the kids, so they'll get a taste of it and they'll know if they like it, and their parents can drop them off, and it takes 15 minutes to get them here and they can pick them up at the end of the day.
I've heard this is a bit of a difficult hill to actually learn to ski on, though.
Yeah, well, it's hard for the kids because we don't have as gradual slopes as we'd hope to have for them. But we're going to try to do some more grooming to the hill, see if we can raise some funds and come up with some sort of plan to get a proper slope for beginners. And that way, once they get onto snow plowing, then the mountain's fine for them. But it is hard to start on. If they can start here, though, they can start anywhere. So,
is that if we move our feet, our skis are going to move.
Mount Hayes already did more to serve young skiers this winter.
This year we went out and we hired Debbie to do the ski instructing on a full-time basis, and then she looks after coordinating the volunteer instructors, or the ones that they're actually paid by the lesson. And then she's also done a lot of the coordinating with the schools to get the schools up here, and we've been fairly happy with that. Some of our weekdays have been fairly busy. We've even received a letter complaining that it was too busy during the during the weekday, because I guess they felt that coming up on a weekday there should be no lift lines. And we see parents dropping their kids off, and they're able to come in, get a phone call from the kids at the end of the day when the kids are ready to go, and that's quite convenient. To me, that's a real plus, real benefit to this hill. There's very few places that you can go skiing and be 5 minutes from downtown.
It may be convenient, but again, the weather is the bane of Mount Hayes. Many people are surprised a coastal city like Prince Rupert has a ski hill at all. Their assumption that it wouldn't get much snow sometimes proves true, at least for part of the winter. This year, the mountain didn't open until the beginning of February, that despite work on grooming the runs.
Well, I've been here for 8.5 years, Kathy, and the first 4 years that I was here, we required about 6 feet of snow before we could even put the snowcat or the packer on the hill. And in 1985, in conjunction with the old ski club, we did some summer grooming, or basically excavating, and flattened a few of the runs. And it's helped us out now so that we can get the packer on the hill with a foot of snow and start packing the snow as it lands. And what that does is it makes it that much harder for the rain to wash it away. We can get an early jump on the packing is what it does. Some years it's going to be quite helpful, like in 86, the winter of 85, 86, it didn't help at all because we didn't get any snow. It was a really mild winter all year round. And in 87, 88, we were able to start quite early. We started in December of 87. The season of 88, 89, we started in January of 89, a little bit later, but still quite good. And of course, in 1990, we had such a mild December and January that we just didn't get enough. The ground wouldn't freeze and the snow wouldn't stick to the ground, so it didn't. We weren't able to get going until late February when everything, or late January and early February when things got quite cold.
Couldn't cruise over to Yahoo, eh?
As part of its review, Prince Rupert City Council will consider keeping only the summer tourist operation going. But even that enterprise has suffered in recent years because the big cruise ships no longer stop on the north coast.
The last big cruise ship that we had in town was the Fair Sky, which was in 1985, and we had a few of them in 1986, but they dropped right off Expo. They started going down to Vancouver, and Mount Hayes really really felt the pinch. I think some of the figures off the top of my head are Mount Hayes had a drop in revenue of about $18,000 from just the Fair Sky alone. that was in town for, I think, 9 visits over the summer, and we were averaging 400 people a visit a day when they were coming up here.
It's been tough to pick up the slack, but Mount Hayes has been trying to attract the other tourists who visit Prince Rupert, mostly on their way to Alaska by ferry.
We put a summer interpreter program, which we run through the Student Challenge 88, 89, 90, whichever the year may be, and they offer guided nature walks. They do a bit of advising on hiking in the area and that sort of stuff. They do stuff like going down to the campground, and in years past, and they've put on slide presentations in the campground to encourage people to come up from the campground. We get a lot of traffic from the campground because there's a pretty large percentage of the visitors that come into town during the summertime come through the campground.
The Mount Hayes Recreation Society foresees more hiking trails and amenities like a barbecue pit as ways to attract more tourists. The society is now drawing up a plan to present to City Council. The city, meanwhile, has put off making a decision on the hill until it has the society's proposal.
You have to admire the dedication, and they're well prepared. So what had been suggested to them was that they give the reasons why they think the council should expend this money, which is $100,000 a year generally, plus the capital costs required, as I said, to make an adequate ski facility. It has been estimated to equal maybe $200,000 a year. So we've asked them to make a report to see if there's any variation. They claim that they can raise some money, but I can't see them raising the whole amount. But because of their interest, dedication, and being prepared, we're prepared to listen to a submission they may have. I hope it's in by June, and the council no later than September will make a decision as to whether or not it should be maintained, balancing again the benefits against the cost.
Indeed, the bottom line is the bottom line, and some council members don't see preserving Mount Hayes as a priority.
Well, some people attract quite a bit of importance to it. I don't really.
Mount Hayes has already closed early this winter because of the cost. The city wants to be sure enough of the $80,000 it allocated for the hill is saved for the summer tourist season. It says the mountain could lose $6,000 a week if it remained open for the rest of the ski season. Members of the Mount Hayes Recreation Society say that's a worst-case scenario, but they've resigned themselves to the early closure. Now they're concentrating on making sure the hill will reopen next winter.
Well, it's another recreation that the people need in any northern community like this. The more recreation we have, the better off it is for everyone, especially the kids, we feel. And I really like bringing friends from out of town up here in the summertime. It's a real show-off place for Prince Rupert because the view from here is as beautiful as any ski resort I've ever seen.
Yes, the view can be spectacular.